A very good morning to all you stalwarts of the healthcare sector. It's personally a delight to be here speaking on a very relevant topic on a Sunday morning. Trade unionism in healthcare sector, the way we see it today, is a comparatively new phenomenon. Kerala is known for its unionism. Trade unions have been here for quite a number of decades. But the trade unionism in healthcare sector, and that too the militant trade unionism that we see today, is just about a decade plus old. I remember the first big strike that happened, which involved the nurses alone, that happened in Lakeshore Hospital sometime in 2011 or so. Thereafter, we saw it happening in Amrita, we saw it happening, spreading across the spectrum one by one. Now, what is this sort of trade unionism? The trade unionism that we know are the trade unions which participate in employee welfare in all industries, and they are run basically by established political parties. So established political parties have certain decorum to follow, and they are not into destructive activities as a normal practice. The trade unionism that we see in healthcare sector is, firstly, it is absolutely divisive because it is only talking about a particular section of the healthcare workers. Others are not being talked about. Secondly, there's an element of militancy there. Very minimal notice or no notice, no reason, whims and fancies of people concerned. That is how it's been happening. And if you just go back, take your minds back, this sporadic militant trade unionism springs up almost with a regular frequency every 5 years. Now, let us look at this minimum wages and all that. Minimum wages or increase in minimum wages is considered by the central government once in 10 years. State governments, as and when they are capable. And in healthcare sector, the militant trade unionism is seeking a revision every 5 years. Now, whom does it affect? It does not affect the management alone. It affects the management because management is also responsible for or accountable to the public for whatever they do. The problem is that this trade unionism does not understand the increase in cost goes on to the man on the street who is the one who is affected. The patient is affected, and that is very easily forgotten by everyone, starting from the government down to all those who encourage this sort of militant trade unionism. Now, let me also take your minds towards the private healthcare sector as a canvas. Where did it originate? We are all talking about the Kerala model of healthcare. Now, that's very commendable. The healthcare sector or healthcare practiced in Kerala is way ahead of other states across the country. But what we need to understand and what we very often forget is that the Kerala model originated and the fulcrum was the street corner doctor, the village doctor, the family doctor, and small nursing homes and clinics and things like that. That was the backbone. And then there were the missionaries. Numerous missionaries all over the place. They were not running for profit. They were running for the welfare of the people. And as a part of the overall village or that societal development, they used to sponsor people for nursing studies and other studies The affected party did not have to pay for it. The church paid for it. And when they came back after qualifying, they were employed at a reasonable salary. Now, all these missionaries, these single doctor-run clinics and the street corner doctors and all that, they cannot afford to pay huge amounts of salaries. So therefore, the first casualty in the healthcare sector, the private healthcare sector that we are talking about, would be and is all these smaller nursing homes, smaller clinics, and smaller missionary hospitals. After the first nursing strike and the consequent minimum wages which was implemented, the census then showed, I'm talking about 2013, 229 hospitals, and most of the missionary hospitals had to shut down because they could not take the impact. Now, I do not have the census thereafter. Yesterday I heard a mention here that what used to be 5,000 hospitals before all these strikes and all that has come down to 2,500 hospitals in the private sector today. May be true, may not be true, I'm not aware of it. But the fact remains, with the sort of salaries that we are talking about, these smaller hospitals cannot survive. So therefore, is it, I also am a CEO of a corporate hospital, but I always wonder whether this ploy of the strikes and all that is basically, is corporatization taking over the private sector healthcare in Kerala? Is that a ploy? We need to think about it. And if you look at it, even the government is encouraging it. If you see the minimum wages scheme, the nurses and the healthcare workers with 200 beds and above are paid a certain salary. 200 beds and below, a certain amount of salary. Why is this so? It might appear to be very, very logical and very, very convincing, but let me give the other side of it. All these smaller hospitals will never get the best stuff because they would all rush to the corporate hospitals, which are 200 beds and above. So the government themselves have laid down a policy which helps corporatization. And quality of service in other hospitals, less than 200 beds, would definitely go down because people seek higher salaries, they would go wherever they are being paid better. That is one aspect which we need to think of. And the trade unionism as it is being practiced today in healthcare sector in Kerala, mind you, it's only in Kerala, nowhere else, is highly damaging because as it is for the inflation and cost factor and all that, there is an increment embedded in the minimum wage scheme. Then why this 5-year periodical uprising for a scale revision? And I don't have to narrate the recent incidents which happened in certain hospitals right here in Trivandrum. There was an attempt to forcibly get a certain percentage of increment, not even increment, one-time relief or interim relief or whatever you want to call it. And the theme is that you spread rumors by saying that such and such hospital has agreed to 40%, 50% and things like that. So these are all ploys, and these people are getting smarter by the day, whoever is practicing this. And they're only, once again, they're only talking about a particular category of employees in the hospital. Can this be allowed? It's a serious matter which we need to think about. And I'm glad to see that in Trivandrum itself, certain activities of certain sections of these associations have already been beaten. And I think this has to spread across the state. Unionism is all right. Union is strength. I believe in that. But militant trade unionism is no strength. It is not to be encouraged, and it has to be beaten wherever they raise their heads. And mind you, they only understand the language of strength. Wherever the management is prepared to compromise, they get after them, and ultimately, someday or the other, they will destroy them. Here, What I'm talking to you about is the sustainability of our private sector, private sector healthcare. If we do not awaken, if we do not act in unison, and if we do not act decisively, a time will come when all of us will go down the drain. Private sector in Kerala in healthcare will not last, and it will go down the drain like all those 229 hospitals, smaller hospitals, which shut down due to wage revision and things like that. I think my time is up. This is a very important topic. We all need to brood over it, dwell over it, and find solutions. If we find solutions together, it will be better. If we cannot do that, at least individually, we must find solutions. And the solution should also keep the common man in mind, because ultimately, he is the one at your doorstep seeking help, and he is the one who is paying for your sustenance. Therefore, he is the most important man, and not only your employees or you yourself as management. With this thought, I wind up. Thank you. It's been a wonderful occasion to be together and share thoughts. And I think it's through experience and experience sharing that we learn, and we also understand and see how we can survive together in this challenging world. Thank you.